Hey, it's Mega, aka the Art Messiah, here to save you from your art sins. Welcome back to another art tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about how to draw the human figure in perspective. Now this concept can be really challenging, so I'm going to be teaching you in a very simple way to break it down and some exercises you can get started with. And so my hope is by the end of this 3-part video series, you'll be able to draw the human body at any angle with any pose. So first we're going to go over 1-point perspective, and as the name suggests, there's only one vanishing point in this perspective, and it must be located on the horizon line. Now the horizon line basically just kind of tells you where we're at in terms of eye level and where we are viewing things. So if you put the horizon at the bottom of the drawing, you're going to have worm's eye view when it's going to look like you're laying on the ground. If you put that horizon up in higher on that page, it's going to look like we have a bird's eye view and like we're looking down on things. So first you establish that horizon line, you plop in a vanishing point, and to get comfortable with this exercise we're just going to be drawing cubes. And so you start off with drawing a square at different locations in the page, and then from each corner of the square you're going to want to drop a line straight back into the vanishing point. Now you can use a ruler if you want really perfect lines, but just typically while drawing it's a good practice to learn how to draw things freehand, especially when working with comics and you need to work a little bit quicker. So now we're going to work on 2-point perspective, and this is the most common perspective to use while drawing and coming up with scenes, but it's up to the creator to choose what lens they want to use when. So this perspective is important when the objects we are drawing are rotated and we're not viewing it head on anymore. What I like to imagine is if you're sitting in front of a TV, directly in front of it, that's 1-point perspective because you're just seeing one face of it. But if you were to slide on the couch and view that same TV at an angle, you would not only see the screen, but you would also see the width of the TV as well. So we start off with the horizon line again. All perspective drawings are going to start with a horizon line. And instead of placing just one vanishing point, we're going to place 2. Hence 2-point perspective. So we place VP1 really far to the left and VP2 really far to the right. And then we draw a vertical line which is going to represent our object. Now what I'm showing you is how to draw a perfect cube. And you won't have to know this math when we freehand these cubes later on, but I figured I would go ahead and show you how it's properly done. So after we draw that vertical line, we draw lines from the bottom point of that vertical line to VP1 and then also to VP2, and we label that as our length 4 and our length 2. Now if we duplicate that length on our horizon line, we are going to get L3 and L1, and L3 is going to equal to L4 and L1 is going to equal to L2, as you can see. And then after we determine that, we can draw another line from the end of L1 through the top of that vertical point, the top of that vertical line, and when that reaches that line that's receding back into our vanishing point 2, that's where we're going to need to put the edge of the cube. So we do the same thing on the other side, and we close off the top and bottom, and we're gonna have a perfect cube. And this little square that I drew around it is just to show that, you know, this is our viewing plane and how we're viewing this object. And a lot of the times our vanishing point 1 and our vanishing point 2 is going to be outside the scene that we are drawing, because if those vanishing points are too close together, we are going to get a very wonky looking cube. So I just wanted to go ahead and demonstrate how that works. And so that's why freehanding cubes is going to be very important, is because the vanishing point most of the time is not going to be on the page. So you just have to get a good feeling for, you know, where your vanishing points are and get a good feeling for just freehanding the stuff. So in this next section, we are going to again still explore the 2 vanishing points by doing more practices and showing objects at different angles. So if you're drawing it straight on, like we had seen before, we are just going to see one plane and one face of the object. But as we begin to turn it, we get to see more of the other faces. So if we turn it just a little bit, right? If we turn it just a little bit, I think in this case it'll be clockwise, and we see that the vanishing point 1 comes in a lot, and the vanishing point 2 stays very far out. And so basically just want you guys to, on your own piece of paper, try to draw a cube at different angles and notice how these vanishing points are changing based on the angle we are viewing an object. That was one of the things that always tricked me up when I was learning perspective, is that I always thought all the lines went to the same vanishing points, but they never explained or showed when you have objects at different rotations, and that it's fine to have, many vanishing points. You may not just have 2, you may have 50 in a scene, but as long as you have that horizon line and that horizon line in the same place, and all the vanishing points lie on the horizon line, you are drawing in correct perspective. So in this exercise, I just want you guys to explore that. So one note to make is that it's completely okay to make mistakes or to make a cube that looks wonky. This is pretty much just a space and time for you guys to try out different perspectives and to see how this will work functionally. So in this next segment, we're going to be talking about freehand cubes, and a lot of the time we're not necessarily going to be setting up really precise perspective grids, or if you're drawing characters in perspective. So in this exercise, I want you guys to just drop in a horizon line and try drawing cubes at various different angles with varying vanishing points and just different shapes in general, and just get comfortable with how these principles work, and don't use any rulers necessarily, and just figure out how these cubes fit in 3D space. Just get really comfortable. Now I'm going to show you guys how to draw these cubes in equal distance. So we're going to drop in that horizon line again and find a vanishing point out to our right. We're going to put in a vertical line to represent our object, and from the top and bottom of that vertical line, we are going to make lines receding to that vanishing point. We then drop in another second vertical line, and we make a giant X between these two, let's say, poles. And where that X intersects is going to be where your halfway point is in the horizontal and vertical direction. So now, with that established, we can draw a diagonal line through the top of the first pole, through that midpoint of the second pole, and where that line meets the receding line at the bottom, that's where the start of the next pole is going to be. And doing this over and over again is going to give you a repeating poles that are equally spaced apart, and we can use this to make more accurate measurements when we're drawing stuff in perspective. The last concept for today is going to be 3-point perspective, and one more method of creating evenly spaced lines in perspective. So we're going to start with a horizon line, and we're going to place that at the top this time. And we're going to create a vanishing point 1 to the left and a vanishing point 2 to our right. And to add in our third vanishing point, we're going to put it in the center of the page all the way near the bottom, as you see. Then we're going to draw on a vertical line. Again, those top and bottom points, recede those back to those vanishing points to VP1 and VP2, like I'm doing right now. And then instead of drawing lines straight down vertical again, we are going to taper those lines to our vanishing point 3. So I mark off where I'm going to start, and I drop those lines down to VP3. I close off the cube, and I'm going to go ahead and just darken in the perimeter of it so you guys can see the outline of the cube very easily. And so once I go ahead and do this, we're going to go ahead and jump into the last method for creating equal spacing. So it's going to be the opposite of last time, where we were creating additional sections that were equally spaced. Now we're going to take a section and we're going to keep on dividing and subdividing that into equal spaces. So we're going to draw an X, a big X again, from corner to corner, and where that X intersects is where our midpoint is going to be in the horizontal and the vertical direction. So we go ahead and take a slice around the cube where that X intersects, and then we do the same thing. So that top half of the cube we now have, we draw on another X, and we go ahead and divide that again. And that's it, super simple. So I thought it would be fun to show a quick demo of what we're going to be doing next week, which is using this perspective and these cubes to create the human figure. So again, we draw on a cube in perspective, and using these equal distancing concepts, we go ahead and make it 7 heads tall, and we construct this box, and then we go ahead and construct the figure inside of it. And I really want to stress to you guys that you don't need to be masters at perspective yet. Like, I'm still learning about perspective. But you can go ahead and start to apply these concepts to create really cool characters and really cool poses. So I can't wait to see you guys next time. And until then, peace.